History Things podcast, a conversational approach to discussing social, industrial, maritime, music, and military history. Join us and our special guests as we dive down the rabbit holes of your favorite stories from the past. Follow the History Things podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or online at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to leave a review and a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app. Pat and Parker are coming right up. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the History Things podcast. I am Pat McCoy. Very, very exciting episode for you today. But before we get into today's subject, we got to introduce the ambassador himself. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from the state of Maine, Parker Russell. How are you, buddy?
Doing wonderful. Got my Maine State drink here.
That's right. You're
as always,
sad tree bark.
Look, we're never going to get our sponsorship from them if you keep doing that. It does not taste like sad tree bark. It tastes like very happy tree bark, and I'm very happy about it.
Oh, man. So we've covered a lot in several years of doing the show here, and we've kept a lot of the more special ones close to the vest. We want to make sure we got the right storytellers, right environment, things like that. And this is one that we thought about for a long time, took a Hail Mary shot, and very, very grateful to have brought it to existence. So today we are here to talk about the famous story of the feud between the families Hatfield and McCoy that occurs in the mid to late 19th century and things like that, potentially even into the early 20th century. And to do that, the right storyteller for the occasion is going to be none other than the families themselves. We're talking today with Jack Hatfield from the Hatfield and McCoy Foundation. He is here to tell us the story as it follows reality. Despite the number of really cool pop culture references and tellings of it, we want to get down to the brass tacks and the reality of the story. So welcome to the show, Jack. How are you, big guy?
Good, guys. I appreciate you having me on today.
Very excited to have you here. Jack, this is a story that I think encapsulates a lot of what, the American sort of pain and growth post the American Civil War is like. What's it like for you growing up directly in it as your family? For me, for Parker, I think I'll speak for him here, that this is a bit of a distant thing. We've come to it through television, through music, things like that. This isn't something we've directly grown up in. Your last name is Hatfield. This is your family we're talking about. What was it like growing up in that story?
Well, the interesting part is I didn't even know until I was in my teens and my grandfather passed. My dad started doing genealogy research after my grandfather passed, and we're so direct from Devil Land, so it was very easy to trace back. So the reason that is that the families were not proud of the feud. Neither family were, and they were embarrassed about it. They didn't want to talk about it or discuss it. So on top of that, my grandfather's father, my great-grandfather, he died when he was, I think, about 28 or 29, something like that, of bad moonshine. So he had a bet he could drink the first run of moonshine, which has all them chemicals are burning off in it, and he lost the bet.
No.
But he was raised by his mom's side of the family. So unfortunately, I didn't hear much about the family history growing up at all. And I didn't even become interested in it myself until I probably hit my 30s, and respected the history. And of course, growing up here, you don't think nothing of it. It's just kind of the norm around here, I guess. So until I left home, for school and everything else and been around the world, you really don't, I guess, cherish or understand how important it is to other people until you're kind of out of the area, so to speak, and realizing that the whole world knows about your family and who you are.
Yeah, I
So
mean it's like one of those things that it's like it's so large that it's like you don't even realize where you're going to encounter a reference to it. You know, you and somebody else start feuding, and sometimes you know there's that immediate reaction to it, or
yeah,
just like how the families have related to the rest of American history, things like that. Um, when you said you came to it in your 30s again, you know, at that point, had you, I don't want to ask like directly, like, how old are you, Jack? But like, where have you seen things like I imagine Kevin Costner's series had been made by that point or was about to be made, uh,
uh, yeah.
things like that. So, like, had you even come to this story like being like, that's us? Like, or was it really just in that moment when your grandfather told you about it? It's like, this is our story, bud. Like, this is who we are.
Yeah, I have seen so many books, so many. I mean, there's honestly about I think six different movies and shows that have been produced. You've even had knockoff shows from after the miniseries that Kevin Costner did, the History Channel did, which was embarrassing stuff.
Christian
Um,
Slater was in one of those.
yeah, have you seen those?
Yeah.
That is not the family. All right, that does not represent all of us. Just saying.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and some of them in that show, I would even question lineage. So,
Sure.
um, yeah. But moving on.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously you right. So like right there, we can tell like there's the way the families are portrayed, and this can be something that can be kind of hard to navigate because it is both
Yeah,
a family that belongs to the United States of America and also is still your private family.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
is a very I can't even imagine what the balance of that is like. So, so let's set the record straight. Well, let's start with just what is the basics of what the story is. I mean, this is a feud between families, but why? Because I know that when I was growing up, this was all about a little piggy, and I know that that's not the reality of the story. So,
It is not
how does
far
that
from.
even become the basis of the legend? So let's talk about the legend for a second.
The legend is Devil Anse, my great grandfather. Technically, he's my great grandfather. I'm his third great grandson. And he was an outlaw along with John C. and Cap. They were outlaws, so to speak, which is an interesting story even into that in itself. Um, but the hog dispute, it's the sticks in my crawl, man. Like,
Of course.
people come in here in this museum all day long asking me, did you really fight 30 years and kill each other over hog? Yeah, we sure did. We were
Uh,
hungry, man. We
Right.
needed some bacon, man. I
that
mean,
bacon.
yeah,
Nobody ever
um,
stops and thinks about the insanity of that. Like, let's
yeah,
just set off a blood feud for generations because of a damn pig.
yeah. I mean, the fact that they even have the audacity to ask questions, I literally turn red every time somebody asks. But the hog dispute actually was not even with Devil Anse. It didn't involve my grandfather. It did involve Randall McCoy and one of a Hatfield from, you would have to go back to Devil Anse's great grandfather. So he'd be what, my fifth or sixth great grandfather, his second marriage, and then down generations to even get to the Hatfield that had the feud with the hog with Randall McCoy.
Right.
There's two sets of Hatfields, as we call it, the Creek Hatfields and the River Hatfields. We are known as the Creek Hatfields because where we're at is called Island Creek. And then River Hatfields are Hatfields from across the river into Kentucky that were known to be the peaceful clan of Hatfields,
Okay.
so to speak. Um, so Floyd would be from that other side of the family. He was the one who had the hog dispute with Randall McCoy. But of course, what kicked it all off was the Civil War.
Right. All right. So let's talk about who the families are real quick, and then let's get into it right at the Civil War. So your family at the time is Devil Anse, like the patriarch. Is he the head of the
Yeah.
business of it all, or his
Yes, he
dad's still
was.
around?
Yeah, he was. He's the main character, of course, and he was the patriarch of the family at the time. He was extremely well respected for many reasons. He had a very successful logging business that he created following the Civil War. So he was greatly respected as, a man of many things is what they say. He was the man you'd go to fix about anything.
All right.
And he employed a lot of people in the area. Of course, with his timber company. He was, of course, a veteran from the Civil War. He was a huge hunter. He knew how to live off the land, hide. I mean, he was a man's man for sure.
Nice. All right. So who are the McCoys then? So we got your family is a timber family in the aftermath of the Civil War. But who are the McCoys?
The McCoys were on the Kentucky side of the river. The main patriarch of the family there would be Randall McCoy, and they were landowners. They did have some little small businesses and things here and there, but they were not as affluent or as politically connected as the Hatfield family at that time.
All right. But they're friends because they live in this
Yep.
community on both sides of the river.
Intermarried, yep. Intermarried for years. Friends did business together. In fact, that's one of the main disputes was a dispute over land. Again, was with Devil Anse. The land dispute was with Devil Anse and Perry Klein, one of Randall McCoy's family members. And so that and the hog trial was kind of going on at the same time. And in the hog trial, the Hatfields won the hog trial, and then they won the land trial right after that. So that just kind of threw a lot of animosity on top of the Civil War event that happened.
The actor that played Perry Klein in the Kevin Costner series did such a good job making him kind of a skis bag that my skin crawled the moment you said his name. Like you just said his name, and I was like, I immediately thought about that actor, and I was like, God, no. All right, so the War of the Rebellion, the American Civil War, as it's more popularly known, breaks out. The states begin to fight each other. West Virginia, not a state yet. It will become an independent state because of this war. It's got very interesting feelings. Now, you guys are in a part of West Virginia that is a lot more reliant on things economically that the Confederacy was built upon. So the local flavor leans a lot more Confederate, am I understanding the lay of the land at that time, versus say out here, I'm in Western Maryland, and the parts of West Virginia that are nearest to us were very, very Unionist. But we are in the other part of West Virginia at this time.
Yep, correct. You got it right. So first off, I do want to make a disclaimer. I am not a historian. So I get a lot of critics, a lot.
That's all right.
Not easy on me, but I am not a historian. I am a proud grandson that likes to tell family stories. All right.
Launch it. We like that.
On the same page. But the Civil War is what kicked it all off. And you're right. West Virginia was a very mixed kind of state. This was at the time known as Logan, Virginia. And of course, during the Civil War, we had, the separation. And what happened during the Civil War, of course, you're right. This area at the time was more Confederate than Union. So Devil Anse and Randall McCoy and a lot of others were fighting. Randall McCoy was also, this is the interesting part. I mean, you literally have brother against brother in the Civil War. I mean, Randall McCoy was fighting with the Confederacy with Devil Anse. His brother Asa, Harmon McCoy, was a Union soldier. All right. So now Devil Anse had a incident that happened over on Devil's Backbone Mountain, which is what you see the miniseries you're talking about. That opens up with.
Right.
And this is one they get very wrong in the miniseries. I'm about to probably bust your bubble on this.
No, you're not. See, here's the thing. You're not busting my bubble because for years I've always done my homework. As much as I love pop culture experiences, I know they're usually pretty whack. So this incident, I'm highly aware of the TV version of it, and what you're about to say do not line up. Okay. So I'm excited just to hear it said directly from a Hatfield, to be very honest.
All right. Well, Devil Anse, basically, as you see in the movie, they do put that part right. He was going to sacrifice himself to save the rest of his platoon. They were surrounded on what we have here called Devil's Backbone Mountain. And he saw one little way out, and he told, all of the soldiers in his platoon, load your guns, lay them beside me, and run out the back. If not, we'll all die. And he was known to be a top-notch marksman. That's what he's known for. He was, was his marksmanship, shooting. Again, he loved to hunt, So he was sacrificing himself for his platoon. And when I say his platoon, I mean a member of, not the leader of. Had that one come up. Um, anyways, so people like to
Are you
twist what I
suggesting
say,
that,
you
that
know, and
historians can be picky?
Yeah.
Is that a suggestion
yeah.
that's being made right now?
Or maybe I should just say people who like to think they're historians,
Right. Armchair
they can be
historians. They're the
picky.
best.
And
Yes,
there's
we're
no
familiar.
right version except for their version. So,
Yeah.
Right.
you know,
Yep.
but so he let him, you know, get out the back while he was holding off the platoon. Well, he kind of took out almost that entire platoon. So he made it back home miraculously, which was, you know, unheard of. So I think that moment in his life was a defining moment where the community really gained a ton of respect for him.
Why do they
So
call him Devil Lance if he's this well-respected guy? You know, always kind of
there's
brave and
three.
badass, and now he's a badass soldier, but he's already known as Devil Lance, isn't he?
No, there
No.
is no. The family calls him Ants
Okay. Because his name's Anderson, right?
and William Anderson.
William Anderson.
Yeah, William
So the
Anderson.
devil comes later.
Yeah.
All right.
So there
We'll get there.
was three different stories to that. There's one of where he's walking back home with his mother, Nancy from uh, I guess the local store to where they buy their supplies, and they were kind of attacked by three young guys, and I guess he beat the crap out of them. And his mom always said he was mean as the devil, and the devil himself wouldn't mess with him. So there's that version of the story. And then, of course, there's the incident we're talking about the devil's backbone incident. So that kind of ties in with the devil, right?
All right.
And then there was also, which is where I think it really stuck, was Randall McCoy was quoted somewhat to the fact of he's six. See what was I'm trying to think of the exact words, but I know it's not exact. But basically, he's 6 foot of hell and full of devil.
Oh,
So I think that's where the media kind of coined that, and I think that's where it really stuck. Um, but his mom always said he was mean as the devil, so you know, supposedly it started there, but I think it really stuck after Randall McCoy's quote,
all right.
and that's also where people have his height wrong. His height was somewhere between 5'6" to 5'8", but everybody says he was 6 foot because of that quote from Randall McCoy.
Sure.
But basically, after that incident, he came home and saw his community in ruins. It was bad. It was a war zone, literally. So they decided, Devil Ants and some other veterans decided, screw this war. You know, like we got to protect our home. Because again, West Virginia was, like you said, you know, it was a mixed area, mixed state. So they created a lot of local militias, one of which was called the Logan Wildcats, which involved Devil Ants and a lot of other Confederate veterans, including Jim Vance and others. And the Logan Wildcats eventually became recognized by the governor to kind of keep law and order in southern West Virginia at the time. So anything that the Logan Wildcats did during the feud during that time was kind of considered, you know, legal
Right.
because they are, you know, kind of the law and order group in the area. West Virginia, a new state, trying to get itself, you know, formed and together and whatnot. You know, it was not a good time to be living in West Virginia at that point, especially the Tug Valley. So the Union captain for that platoon, can't think of his name on the top of my head right now, but he basically recruited his best known shot to help him assassinate Devil Ants for taking out his platoon.
Shouldn't have done that.
So his best shot was a fella by the name of Asa Harmon McCoy,
Uh-oh.
McCoy's brother.
Uh-oh.
So they try to assassinate Devil Ants. They miss. Devil Ants again, don't miss. So they did take out the captain that day, but Asa got away. So the home guard, the Logan Wildcats, tracked down Asa Harmon McCoy hiding in a cave. They followed his slave, taking him lunch, from my understanding, and they killed him for trying to assassinate Devil Ants. They sent the slave back home to tell the family, where to find the body. Um, that is the first event that kicked off what we know as the Hatfield McCoy feud.
Do they know? Do you know how they were aware that that was Harmon McCoy's unit by any chance? Like, did they physically see him? Like, there's that
Yes.
son of a bitch on the rock right there. Like, did they see it?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. From my understanding, that's kind of the way it went down. I mean, after the Civil War, of course, Devil Anse was, creating his business, his logging business, and from my understanding, it was, one of their work sites, and they were, kind of like up on the mountain, shooting down,
Okay.
which I think they even have a scene of that in the miniseries, similar to that. Um, yeah, I think there was a scene in the miniseries for that. But I mean, they have it out of place, but there was one in there. But
Yeah,
that's
I think
kind
I know
of
what you're
what
talking about.
kicked it off. In the miniseries with Kevin Costner, they showed us a bar fight between Jim Vance and Asa Harmon McCoy, and Asa in his union uniform in the bar, and talks about his dog or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then he catches him after that, and then they, kill him. But that's not how it went down. It was due to the Civil War.
Basically, as far as the setting the record straight for that scene, the only thing that's reality is the death.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is Jim Vance involved? Is he? Because I know that in reading about him on my own time, there's some. He's sometimes in the Logan Wildcats and sometimes not. Like he's not always present. Is he present at the death of Harmon McCoy?
Yes.
Okay.
From my understanding, he was the lead instigator behind that.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, I consider Jim Vance and um, Perry Klein and Frank Phelps the kind of the instigators on both sides of the families, and the families were kind of drug into it by these two main characters that were, related to the families in certain ways, but kept stirring the pot and kept things going.
All right. All right. So Harmon McCoy, Asa Harmon McCoy has been killed. This news obviously is going to make it back. It's going to reverberate through a very tight knit community. What happens next?
Well, about close to 10 years later, you have the hog dispute and the land dispute we were talking about. We kind of went through those, but those happened within months of each other. And of course, that threw a lot more animosity on the situation. And then, of course, you have the part of the story everybody loves. Uh, 2 years after that, John C. and Rosanna kind of run away together and fall in love and, want to get married. But of course, my grandfather says, no, it's going to make things worse.
So this
You
is like
know,
Appalachia Romeo and Juliet, right? Because
yeah,
Jonesy is a Hatfield and Rosanna is a McCoy.
McCoy. Yeah, she's Randall McCoy's daughter. Yeah. So you're talking about Devil Ance's son and Randall McCoy's daughter.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
So he knew.
before we go ahead, Jack, real quick, just going back to the murder of Harmon McCoy, is there a lot of immediate animosity, like like you killed my brother, you killed my kin? Because as I understand it, the McCoy family is largely sympathetic to the Confederacy. So seeing that he's wearing a blue uniform and it was basically a retaliatory wartime moment. Is there a lot of deep animosity that is simmering for that decade until the land dispute and the pig story? But is it kind of one of those things that's like it's over with after a few years?
Yeah, I think it was kind of over with after a few years. You had Asa Harmon was a Union soldier, and Randall was a Confederate soldier. And unfortunately, Randall became a prisoner of war for many years. And he was bad. He saw a lot of bad things during being a prisoner of war, and I think it took a toll on him mentally, which ended up leading to the escalations and situations that happened.
If I
Um,
recall, Randall McCoy is at Camp Chase, which is in Ohio, which is a brutal place to be a prisoner.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He had. I mean, it was rough. It was a rough life for sure. And Devil Anse didn't want this to continue, didn't want this to go on. So he refused their marriage. And of course, Rosanna ends up getting pregnant, and she gets tired of being an unwed mother with her reputation smeared at the time, right? It
Right.
was a big deal at the time.
Right.
So she decides to go back to her family. Unfortunately, her family does not want her back, her father, and turns her away. And she ends up living with her Aunt Betty McCoy.
So is this Randall's already very much in his deep hatred then now at this point? Is this all just because everything she's doing is attached to the last name Hatfield at this point?
Yeah, pretty
Like,
much.
so did he lose the land dispute, Devil
Well,
Lance?
the land dispute was with Perry Klein.
I'm sorry, did Perry Klein lose the land dispute?
Yes. And Randall lost the hog trial.
And so now they're just sitting over there pissed.
Stewing. Yeah. They're
All
just
right.
pissed and stewing. And then his daughter falls in love
With
with,
the enemy.
the known Romeo of the
Yeah.
Hatfield, the player, right?
Right.
So, and it just makes the situation worse. And so she ends up at Aunt Betty's house because Randall pretty much disowned her at that point, and which is unfortunate. She had a rough little life, and she ended up having their child. It was a daughter, and she didn't live very long. She had measles and died. I don't think Johnsy ever even got to meet or hold the baby before she died. And Rosanna unfortunately didn't last too long after the baby. So everybody, the story goes is that Rosanna died of a broken heart, after Johnsy and her baby. It's a really sad part of the story, unfortunately.
How long does that take to play out? I mean, does the baby survive into its second year? Does it survive a
I
year?
think I think the baby was 8 months old when it passed.
So we're still in like the mid 1870s at this point.
Yeah, Rosanna and Johnsy met May 1st, 1880.
Oh,
So
okay. So we're
18
later
years,
than I thought.
1880. Yeah. And then June, a month after they met, is when Bill Staten is killed. And Bill Staten was if I think in the miniseries they portrayed him as the town drunk.
Talking trash
So
in the bar, and then they go out and get him in
yeah,
the woods.
yeah.
Yep.
So Randall McCoy's Ken, Sam McCoy and Randolph McCoy, I'm sorry, Sam McCoy, Randall's nephew, that's who it was, shot and killed Bill Staten for his role in the hog trial, right? So, and you're talking 2 years after that hog trial, right? So, I mean, you've got Bill Staten was, if I'm not mistaken, he was kin to the McCoys.
So
You
in
know,
that scene, Jack, they have Bill talking a lot of smack. Is that in line with how that? Because I mean, otherwise it just sounds like Sam and them just sat on that for 2 years and were like now and popped him in the woods. But I got to imagine that there's an instigating moment. Is he running his mouth?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Right, we weren't
I
there.
could definitely see it. um, they may or may not have got that part right. There there are some things I can't talk about that. I know that the miniseries was consulted by someone who had um, a memoir um, from a very close person in the feud.
All right.
So some of what they have in there could be very accurate.
I like the
Uh,
way you said that. Like there's still top secret stuff. It's like, listen, this is our story. We're not telling everything. I
um,
appreciate that.
we'll just say it was stolen from the family before I.
Oh my
Gotcha.
goodness. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Back away, everybody. Neuralize. Men in Black. Didn't hear it. You didn't hear anything.
Yeah. So I know where it's at, but
All right.
Yeah.
We don't want to start a feud again,
I
right?
was gonna say, is this still something we're?
We don't want to do that.
so anyway, so they kill
Anyway.
Bill Staten. After that, Rosanna and Johnson's baby dies on February 7th of 1881. That's when the baby dies. And after that is the following, let's see, February of 1881 is when the baby died. August 7th of 1882 is when Ellison was stabbed and killed at the Election Day event in Pike County. And that was where Randall McCoy's three sons jumped and killed Devil Ance's brother, Ellison.
This is a big deal because
This
this
is
is
the big,
done very publicly.
Yeah.
And I think setting the scene for our listeners and viewers a little bit, election day gatherings are big parties. I mean, they're big
Yeah.
social gatherings. So there's food, there's drink, and like a lot of these atmospheres of jovialness, because that's supposed to be what it is. Everybody's participating in the civic duties of Americans. A lot of people just get hammered drunk. And I think that's the genesis of this, is that I think at the beginning of this starts as just some drunken trash talk and stuff, and then just evolves into a horrible moment that kind of, I think for me as an outsider, Jack, I would say this is where I think the scales were permanently tipped to insanity.
Agreed. I agree. To me, this is the gasoline that they threw on the fire.
Right. So
Um,
so sorry, Ellison, is he the older brother, or is it Devil Lance is the oldest, right?
yes, he
Okay.
had two twin brothers too, Smith and Patterson. He had Wall and
Because
Ellison, of
Wall's
course.
a judge, and he's
They actually, and I get these confused. Like I said, this family likes to recycle names like newspaper, let me tell you. So it's hard to trace some of these people sometimes. You got to be careful, look at the dates of birth and death. And, people come in here all the time thinking we're Canada. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but that was a whole different,
Yeah.
wall Hatfield, you know.
yeah.
But there was actually two Wall Hatfields. One was a judge. One, of course, was a preacher. They kind of combined those roles in the miniseries, but that was actually two separate people.
Okay, that's kind of what I was. I don't say what I was thinking, but I think I was kind of familiar with that. That one was very different than the other, and I was like, why?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not here to discuss totally the miniseries, but I like using it as a soundboard
Wait,
because
what?
I think the, I think, I think a good place for a lot of these conversations is to start with the pop culture spine of it, because that's what people are most familiar with, and it's like that. If that's the retreating point, we can stand on it and either blow it up or build off of it or move
Yeah.
away from it, whatever. So for me, I know that I knew about this story, but gosh, that series is now easily 15, almost 15 years old. I was in my mid.
Crazy to think that.
Yeah, I don't like saying stuff like that, by the way, Jack. It makes me feel like I'm getting a lot older. But like I remember when that came out, and like I was like, hell yeah, I really like this story. So going to it immediately after the series, I was like, okay, so that's different than that, and that's right, and da, da, da. And I was like, cool. And so, I think this is a good place for a lot of people to start, because the familiarity is probably going to be that miniseries, or
Oh
God
yeah.
forbid we
Yeah.
started laughing, but like maybe they got bored and they watched the Christian Slater stuff, and it's like, hold on, I'm glad you're here now, because now you know.
Yeah.
That's
That one was
that's
real.
ridiculous.
That one made my head turn. I'm like, who is that? Like, where did they come from? Like that. I don't know who wrote that one, but
Jack, what
yeah.
happened with that one was they wrote a cowboy movie, and somebody in producer land said no. And they were like, what if we just put the Hatfield and McCoy name on it? And they were like, hell yeah. And that's
Yeah,
exactly
maybe
what
you might be
happened.
right on that one. Yeah.
What
There
was
was
it?
one done too with Jack Palance in the 70s. I haven't watched that one. I have it on VHS, but I ain't got a VHS player anymore.
You know something? I think my
Um,
parents had that one. The Jack
yeah,
Palance one? I'm
yeah,
pretty sure I cannot remember, but I think I've seen it. We watched a lot of Jack Palance movies
yeah.
last
Also,
There's the one with the
let's
yellow
have a
cover.
drink to VHS players. That was a great reference
VHS, there we go.
to a day gone by. Cheers, VHS players.
But yeah, so I haven't watched that one, but yeah, the miniseries, of course, with Kevin Costner is the most latest version. So it is the one that most people reference to.
You sell it at the museum?
Yes. Yeah. So of course, me and my aunt, we own Devilance's home place, and here at the home place, we've been working on restoring the whole property, and we have a little museum and gift shop, and like gym mine and things here on the property.
Cool. Well, let's talk about that at the end here a little bit, because I definitely, reading through the website, was like, I think I might be coming down to visit you all some point this summer. Just bring my family down. Seems like a nice trip.
I got some bigger news too soon. We can talk about that later.
All right. So, okay, so I mean, so we've had a lot. So it took a while to get going, right? Civil War to the first real incident is a good couple years, almost a decade. Then we have points of pride being attacked, things like that. But then we have this election day murder. So what is that like as far as the family story, how does that day go? How does Ellison's last day play out as far as the family retelling of that story?
Well, there's different versions of it floating around, of course. Um, the one that I was told growing up by family, which when I put it in the time frame, I'm not sure it makes sense, but it, he of course he was stabbed. I think it was 27 times, I think, and shot once. And he lived, from my understanding, he lived for a few days. And the family version goes is if Ellison dies, those boys will die in the same manner. So he kept them. They arrested him. The Logan Wildcats in Kentucky arrested the three McCoy boys. Basically, took them.
So they did cross
And
the river into a different state.
yes,
Huge deal.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I know why you're pointing that out, and it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So they bring the McCoy boys here in West Virginia, and they hold them at a schoolhouse, which is in a town we call Mate One, and he holds them there till he finds out if Ellison lives or dies. Now, keep in mind, this was done in broad daylight, hundreds of, people seeing this happen at this big event. It wasn't a secret, and it was very clear they were guilty. However, they did not have a trial and be found guilty by a jury and all that like they should have.
Sure.
So again, the Logan Wildcats was kind of the law and order at the time, right? So anything Devilance done was seen by the Wildcats, which was supposedly legal in West Virginia, but not Kentucky, right? So they held them on the West Virginia side of the river, and they kept begging for Devilance to give the kids back. And they said they deserved to get justice in Kentucky, not West Virginia. He said, "I promise you, they will serve their justice in Kentucky, no problem. But I need to see if my brother lives or dies from this situation before we can figure things out." So they held the boys captive. I think it's about 3 days, and he bled out and died. So at that point, it was time for them to meet their judge, jury, and executioner, which was Devilance.
So that was the deal, was if he lives, you live and go, you live long enough to go through the court process. If he dies, this is your end right here.
Yeah, but that's not what he told Kentucky, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can't tell that to Kentucky because then,
right.
That's like technically the law.
Right. So what they did was create a legal nightmare, and they took the boys and tied them to what we call pawpaw trees. It's a tree that produces a fruit. And they tied them to the pawpaw trees and basically shot them but they tied them to the pawpaw trees on the Kentucky side of the river, stood on the West Virginia side of the river, and shot across the river and executed them. So you've got a legal nightmare. You got the Civil War, a new state. The states aren't even together as a federal government, and then you're crossing state lines, which is illegal, and pulling people across state lines, which is illegal, and then you're executing people across state lines, which is illegal. So it got to be really messy right there.
The community is probably tearing itself apart over, like, forget the bigger picture for a moment. The community is probably like freaking out right in this moment because these are prominent families on both sides of this. This isn't like Parker and I duking it out over some stuff, right? We're like, Parker and I are a couple of average Joes, but like locally to this area, this is like the big families duking it out very publicly.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
That's exactly what it is. Yes. And so, he did promise his mother, of course, she did come visit them. That is accurate in the movie. And he promised he'd give them back, and he did. He had them delivered back home.
After they were killed, I was going to say, wait.
After they were killed.
I was like, wait, he can't deliver them home. He shot them, but he did. He sent their bodies back.
Yep, he sent their bodies back. Yep.
So from this point, would it be fair to say that the gloves are off between both families? Like the McCoys are now going to seek revenge, and the Hatfields are aware, like your family's aware, like it's on, like we know this, we know they're coming now.
Yeah, I mean, that happened, of course, August of 1882, right? And then in December of 86, a few years later, you have Cap, Devil Ance's second born, who's very well known in the feud. Cap was ruthless. Cap and Jim Vance were two hardcore people. They were two peas in a pod. Um, Cap,
They showed a very innocent version of the peas in the pod relationship. Because like
yeah, but yeah, they were
Cap is my favorite in the series. I don't know that he's my favorite in real life, and in the series, I like the character that plays him. I like the way that he's approached, but he's always just kind of got this like good old boy. He's a real good shot, dead eye with one eye type of thing.
He was.
Yeah, but that's like the nice part of him. He's got a reputation for ruthlessness and stuff like that.
Yes, even locally, he terrorized even the community. He was a rough man, and he ended up shooting and killing Jeff McCoy. Jeff McCoy, which they show it in the miniseries, I think he's crossing the river, and they hit him dead center. Yeah. So Jeff McCoy was the son of Asa Harmon McCoy and Randall's nephew, right? So Cap killed Jeff McCoy. So between the McCoy boys and then Cap shooting and killing Jeff McCoy, the McCoys were over it, and they started going politically to the governor to try to extradite the families, and the governor also saw an opportunity to take more land for Kentucky after the feud.
The West Virginia governor.
The Kentucky governor.
I'm sorry. I said that backwards. Yeah. He's looking at like, not only can we go get the families, but we can take their land for Kentucky. Oh, spicy.
So the Kentucky governor puts warrants on the heads of the Hatfields, which now makes us outlaws, right? And he did that, though he agreed to do it as a political move for him. So for the McCoys, it was seeking justice. For him, it was a political move, right?
Right.
So the governor of West Virginia is involved, which they show a small little scene in a miniseries. But the Kentucky governor, I mean, there's several versions, like I said, that float out there. The one that makes the most sense to me is this exact one where the Kentucky governor saw an opportunity and put the warrants on the heads of the Hatfields. The West Virginia governor had to respond. So he sent 1,000 troops down here, led by Devil Anse, and basically told the Kentucky governor, bring it on.
Oh.
So
I'm sure people in Washington are like, oh my God, we cannot do this again.
So the Kentucky governor kind of set his ass down and stayed put, and Kentucky stayed Kentucky, and West Virginia stayed West Virginia, but you still had the bounties on the heads of the Hatfields. He never removed the bounties on the heads of the Hatfields.
So individual hunters start coming.
Yeah. So you had the governors now involved, right? So now we're on a state level at this point. It went community to state, right?
Yep.
So, and the McCoys, of course, try to seek justice with all that. And then the family, about 2-3 years later, Devil Anse had a health scare. And he thought he was going to die. And he did not want to leave the family in this turmoil, in this situation. So he decided to, as they say in the movie, cut off the head of the snake, right? Now, you got to remember that one thing that we haven't talked about, and that they don't even portray a lot in the miniseries, is that here you are with Hatfields who have bounties on their heads, right? Everybody was trying to collect a bounty. So anywhere my family went, they were constantly watching their back.
Yeah.
Constantly, nonstop. I mean, think about that. You can't even go to work for somebody trying to take you out, right? So they were exhausted. They'd been pursued by Frank Phelps, by the governors of Kentucky. Then you've got all these bounty hunters coming in, and every Joe Schmo trying to collect a bounty coming after you.
When does
It's
Frank Phillips first enter the story? You just mentioned one of the other characters I'm kind of fascinated by, one of those
Yeah, I'm
outside
not
agitators.
sure on the exact date he entered the story, to be honest with you. I don't know when they appointed him sheriff. But he had a bad reputation, and he was trying to clean up his reputation. So what better way to do that than to arrest the most notorious outlaws at the time, right?
Right.
So he was really a gun for hire, to be honest. He was not a sheriff, in my opinion, even though they appointed him as sheriff.
Sure.
He was just somebody out to, for himself, and for the thrill to kill, in my opinion. So, he organized a lot of posses and raids during this time to come into West Virginia. This is when Devil Anse withdrew from closer to the river back here to where we're at now. And he created the hideout, which was across the street, which was not some rickety cabin in the woods. You got to remember, he was a man of wealth at the time.
Right.
So he had a two-story block construction building he built across the street over here, and that was the hideout. In fact, there's actually a snippet of it. There's a very famous photo of him on his favorite stallion, Fred, holding his 44, and in the background of that is that hideout.
Oh yeah, that's a lot different than the look, I'll be very honest, the hideout in the show is probably a lot cooler looking.
I'll agree with that.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
no
looks,
doubt
it
about it.
looks. I was like, man, if I got to lay low in the Appalachians,
Yeah,
that's the spot.
yeah, he built himself a stone fortress. He wasn't in no tiny little cabin, And up above the mountain over here is actually a huge ledge, about halfway up the mountain, and that's where all the sharpshooters would camp out and stay and watch out over the hideout and the home place and the property here.
Does anybody ever make a play on Devil Anse at the hideout? Does anybody ever come and try to attack it, or is it
They
like?
couldn't find him.
I mean, that's a good
They couldn't
hideout.
find him. They couldn't find him. But they had, and he was constantly on the move too. That was the other thing. I mean, he was a businessman, right? So he was trying to run his company, and you have all these posses and bounty hunters coming after him.
Are people still willing to do business with him, even though they know
Oh
there's
God,
bounties
yeah.
on him? The
On the
locals
West
don't give a
Virginia,
damn.
Now on the West Virginia side of the river, he was a very well respected man. He wasn't, seen as a murderer or anything like that. He was. I can't tell you. I think it's about 3 or 4 times, and I've checked, and the stories were true, that people have come in here and they're like, Devil Anse raised my grandfather, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, he was, his parents kind of, either were drunks or dead or something, and Devil Anse took them in and raised them, and then when they got old enough, gave them jobs with the lumber company, and so he was not this mass murdering person. He was actually a man of the community. I mean, remember, he went AWOL during the Civil War to save his community.
Yep.
You know, he was known to be a big community man, and he protected his family. In
Hey,
fact,
real fast, Jack, you just mentioned something I forgot to ask earlier. How does he go AWOL without repercussion?
well, during that time, the Civil War, especially right here in this area, it was so mixed, so much going on. I mean, there were so many people going AWOL and abandoning the war in this area
Right.
because, again, they were trying to protect their homes at this point. We were, the front lines for the Civil War. So there was so many people that went AWOL and
He just got lost in the
and
shuffle of
abandoned
it
it.
all until the Confederacy did not exist anymore. And then it didn't matter at that point.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much.
I just wanted to ask because I was like, wait a minute. I was like, a lot of the Home Guard units were brutal to deserters.
Well, that's what the home guard here in the Logan Wildcats. That's exactly what it was. Is it was veterans that went AWOL and created the Logan Wildcats to protect the community.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, there was not really any repercussions because I mean they technically he's still doing his duty, but it's to the community, not the Confederacy at this point, right?
Sure.
So,
Sure.
and then you've got the Kentucky governor trying to invade, West Virginia governor deputizes them, right? So, he was not seen as a deserter or
And then gave him a
a bad
regiment.
person.
I mean, not only did he deputize him, but he basically gave him a regiment. 1,000 guys is a regiment.
Yeah, that's in one of the many. There's like 68 books, I think, in my collection
All right.
of the feud that's been published through the years. And one, I actually just republished a book called American Vendetta, and this is the only known firsthand account interview with my great grandfather. And what he says in there, and I truly believe, he's what he talks about in this book is that during the interview with T.C. Crawford, who was a reporter and a writer from New York City, is that he, if you killed, his kin, then he's coming after you, But there was a few times that Cap was even wounded locally, okay? Because I told you Cap was
Yeah.
in a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of people that even shot and wounded Cap and Johnsey locally, and they were never murdered or killed or hunted down or anything because they lived. But in this interview, he says, "You kill my kin, you will pay for killing my kin." But there's a time when it even talks about in the book. Cap got shot, and he was like, "You ain't dead. Get up and walk it off."
So
You know,
but I mean, let's do, I hate to say it like that, but like, let's do the body count at this point. It's like one Hatfield and like a ton of McCoys now. Like, is there an end to the "you kill my kin"? Like, he's like going to wipe out the whole family.
well, I mean, if you take a shot and kill his kin, yeah, he will wipe you out. Yeah,
So I just
that's
didn't know, like, is there like an end to that? Because it's like, I feel like if we're going eye for an eye, you've gotten several eyes.
Yep, yep. There was, I mean, there's like I said, the end was as if they didn't die.
That's why
You
they
know,
go after Randall, because they figure the family will knock it off if Randall's not around, because they believe
yep,
Randall's driving all this.
yes, yep, yep.
Okay,
And
that makes
in
a little
my
more sense.
opinion, you had Jim Vance doing it on the Hatfield side, and you had Perry Klein and Frank Phillips, really steering it on the Kentucky side, right?
Who is Perry Klein?
He was Randall McCoy's cousin, I think it was, and he was an attorney, and he was politically connected to the governor. That's how they got to the Kentucky governor.
Okay,
Um, and he's the one who had the land dispute with Dev Lance. He wanted revenge over the land dispute because Dev Lance was awarded his 5,000 acres of land during that court case.
right. That's the whole. He tries to, I guess. That's the bamboozle scene in the series. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So you got Perry Klein had an axe to grind, and Frank Phelps had an agenda,
Did
right?
Perry Klein try to do the shisty thing like that? Did he try to get a dead man to sign over things like bills of sales? Because that's the whole thing, right? Is the bill of sale was documented and signed off on by a guy that died like before he could ever have done that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
there's no actual document that I know of. There's a lot of documents I haven't been able to see with my own eyes yet, but I don't know of any document that shows any of that yet. And there's some that even deny that the land dispute even happened. I mean, there's crazy theories out there,
Okay.
but it wouldn't make sense that it didn't happen with the way the story went down. It just makes too much sense.
Sure.
But they both had an axe to grind, and again, like you said, it's all pinned on Randall McCoy, right? If Randall McCoy's eliminated, then what's left, right? They have no more excuses. So they decide to raid the cabin and home of Randall McCoy on New Year's Day. The intent was to kill Randall McCoy. So it would all stop.
New Year's Day, what year?
1888.
Okay. So we're getting close to the end of the century.
Yes. So
Going,
we're
this has been going on a
1888.
while.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking to see Asa was shot January 7th, 1865, and now we're here in May 1888.
So the
So
war hadn't even ended yet when Asa was shot.
correct. Correct.
All right. So, I mean, this is a grudge. I mean, this is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
all right.
So they
New Year's Day.
surrounded the McCoy cabin, tried to get Randall to surrender and come out. He refused. So they set the cabin on fire to try to push them out. And his family started running out and they started shooting. And Calvin, I think it was Calvin. Let's see, actually, it might say right here on this note. Um, yeah, Calvin and Alifair, his two sons were killed. And his wife, Sarah, she was brutally injured, um, supposedly by Jim Vance butting her in the head with his gun, which made her have permanent brain damage. And she kind of was, institutionalized at that point. And it was really sad for her. She had a sad, hard life. But Alifair and Calvin were shot and killed. Now, Alifair was supposedly killed by Cotton Top, Ellison Mounts, which was Devilance's brother Ellison's illegitimate son.
Okay.
The one that was stabbed and killed.
Yes. So his son.
His son admitted to killing Alifair. Now, Cotton Top, he was albino, and he was not mentally all there. He was not stable. He was, they referred to him back then as being slow. But you've got a whole firing squad of men, like 20, 30 men. I don't even know how many was there firing at the cabin. I mean, we know exactly who was there because there's a document, but I don't know the number off the top of my head. But anyways, you have all these people surrounding the cabin shooting. How do we know Cotton Top actually killed Alifair? You know what I mean? So I'm still not convinced to this day that he actually killed her.
Sure.
But he was definitely confessing to it, trying to make the family proud. And he got captured, and they drug him across the river into Kentucky during one of the raids. Okay. And so then they pull him across the river and hold him captive. Right. So in retaliation, of course, and he's, I killed a McCoy, I killed a McCoy, I killed a McCoy. So he's trying to make the family proud and admitted to killing Alifair. So he's being held. And then, of course, you have, at this point, Randall gets away. A few of his other children get away with him. And they, of course, at this point are livid, right? I mean, this is the height of the feud. This is the main event, right?
Right. The sons have been killed. You have attacked my wife. You've burned my home. You've killed more of my children. I'm on the run.
Yep. The Hatfields were so tired of, living with these bounties on their heads and getting shot at constantly and hunted down and raids. They were they had a lot of raids Frank Phelps was doing coming into West Virginia. And, during these raids, they're not just attacking the Hatfields.
Right.
They're attacking anybody along their way in West Virginia they can get, right?
I mean, so they're just acting like a raiding party. I mean,
yes, that's what they were doing. Yeah, on top and trying to hunt down Devilance and Cap and Johnsey. They were, leaving havoc in every bit of their way. So this was affecting the community, the family, the Hatfield family and the community. So the Hatfields were like, enough. So, and with Devilance with his health scare, he was not at the massacre at the McCoy cabin that day. He was sick over here at the hideout, supposedly.
Okay.
I don't know. But anyways, so of course they're trying to get retaliation, right? So in the middle of all this, Johnsey fell in love again with Nancy McCoy.
Another McCoy.
Yeah. Married Nancy McCoy without Devilance's permission. Okay. So Nancy McCoy was the daughter of Asa Harmon McCoy. Yeah. So to make it worse, Johnsey marries the first McCoy killed in the whole event, right? His daughter.
Does Jonesy not know these families are at war?
Johnson.
Is he one of those like ancestors that y'all just shake your head at? You're like, man.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, man, what was you thinking, dude? Like, seriously.
He's like,
Yes.
just
Yeah, that's
focus,
the
dude.
guy.
Just keep it in your pants. Jesus.
Yeah, that exactly. We got it. Just keep
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gee.
But he ended up marrying Nancy, and we kind of, I probably should have worked this in the timeline, but he ended up marrying Nancy, and when Cap shot and killed her brother, which you see in the scene,
Right.
Jeff. So Jeff was her brother that Cap killed, and at that point, Johnsy is also going out west and on the run with his dad all the time, things like that. So Nancy's at home alone. Um, Comes home supposedly, from my understanding, to find her pregnant with Frank Phillips's baby, and and so again, there's different versions, different stories of all this. So she ends up going back to Frank Phillips and becomes a traitor to the Hatfields. So then you have the
Neville Ann's
cabin.
probably not happy with that.
No, no. And then you have the cabin massacre. So when Frank Phelps wants revenge, Nancy um, gives him the hunting grounds hideout of Jim Vance and Cap.
Now they make Nancy in the series seem like she was doing all this falling in love with Jonesy and stuff like that to basically get intelligence. I mean, they
I don't
like
think
make it seem
started
like
that
that.
way. I don't think it started that way. I think when Cap killed her brother, that was a turning point for her.
Why does Cap kill Jefferson?
I don't even remember, to be honest with you. I don't want to tell you something I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't remember why he killed Jeff. I don't know. I can't
It's
remember.
the only reason I ask is because in my mind I feel like there's two people in this that lose their lives because essentially they were running their mouths, and I feel like it's him and Bill Staten.
Yeah,
I
I
think they're the two
probably,
guys that are just talking more than they should and end up eating a bullet for it.
and it could be very well true. Like I said, they did have access to some firsthand account information, and honestly, in this situation, that would be extremely correct.
All right, there you go. There you go.
Um, Come to think about it.
So Frank Phillips,
Um,
though, he's out for revenge now because
he's
he's
out for
affiliated with
revenge.
the McCoys. The
Randall's
McCoys
out for
just got ran.
revenge.
Yep.
Yep. So they attack Jim Vance and Cap while they're hunting on a raid in West Virginia, and they shoot and kill Jim Vance in West Virginia that day, and they missed Cap, and Cap got away.
This scene in the series features one of the saddest deaths I have ever seen on film. Like, I don't know why. I'm not very sympathetic to the character of Jim Vance, but
Yeah.
him and his dog and just like that
Yeah.
whole scene, I was like, man, it's well shot, it's well acted, and
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
probably feel me on this. Anytime you involve a dog, it's just my heart immediately is like,
Me too.
no, yeah.
Me too. I've got two of my own right here. I'm trying to keep them quiet.
Hey, it's all good. We enjoy friends on the
But
show.
yeah,
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 so
I'm a huge animal lover, so
so this
it
is
was
that
hard. Yeah.
scene. That's that, they're out hunting, right? Allegedly,
Yep.
take them away from all this type of thing.
Yep. Yep. They're on the hunt, for food for the family, and all of a sudden they're ambushed by, Frank Phelps and his posse, and they do kill Jim Vance that day, and they miss Cap, so Cap gets away and makes it back home. And then a few days later, they got word that Frank Phelps was organizing another raid to come across state lines, again, illegal at the time, right? Come across state lines to arrest Hatfields. And so they organized a posse. They ended up meeting, both groups ended up meeting at Grapevine Creek. So we have what we call the Battle of Grapevine Creek. Um, and that day, Bill Dempsey is wounded. Jim McCoy, um, by Jim McCoy, and then killed by Frank Phelps that day. And of course, they captured a few of the Hatfield employees slash friends, which were the Mahon brothers and Ellison and a few others. So
So this is like the big gunfight between the families.
yes, yeah, at this point, yeah. And so this is a big turning point too, because this is where it starts going federal at this point. So, you didn't have, the cohesive United States of America that we have today. You had state against state. That's the whole point of the Civil War, right? So, and states' rights. And so it was illegal. Each family coming across the states, grabbing people, pulling them across, killing them, holding them accountable, right? So at this point, Kentucky has gathered a group of people, not direct Hatfields, except for Ellison, Cotton Top. And Wall supposedly turns himself in. He dies a year later in prison. However, at this point, the only confession they ever had to anything was Cotton Top.
So this is ascended to the federal level simply because the states can't seem to control it anymore, right?
Yes.
Second
Yes.
question I have is, with all these raids Kentucky has been, I guess, sanctioning or allowing to be conducted across the border in West Virginia, has Kentucky made any attempt to get West Virginia law enforcement to do something? Like, have they been like appealing to the Logan County Sheriff, to militia units, to anybody, be like, look, this is a crime. Go arrest these guys.
I don't think they could make it past the Hatfield territory to get to those people, to be honest.
Okay. I mean, that's why I'm asking, is just like,
Yeah.
because it seems like it's funny in a way. And I hope you take no offense to this, but it seems like such an unnecessary escalation, even though I know it happened, right? Historically, it happens, but it's like there's a million ways I feel like communication could have, versus just direct confrontation. Like, telegraph wires exist, the postal service exists. It's like, why was it so easy to just, if you're the McCoys, just commit to war?
Well, there's a few theories. There's a theory out there that the McCoys had a genetic predisposition to violence and and whatnot, and in their DNA line or something like that. I've heard that one. But the best thing that seems to make the most sense, of course, is in this book that I just republished, when I was talking about, which is why I like it. It kind of sets the stage for exactly what you're talking about. So this author, of course, he's coming down here from New York, right, to check things out and to investigate and to do a story for the newspaper at the time. And he talks about, he actually calls it Murderville, is what he calls Logan County.
All right.
And supposedly this book is responsible for the term hillbilly, right? So
for a hillbilly?
Yes, he paints the picture of what life is like in the time in Logan County during that time of history.
How do we feel about that term, hillbilly?
I'm proud to be hillbilly.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and a redneck. You know what a redneck is?
I mean, I know what a Maryland version of a redneck is.
Nah, I'm talking about the term, where the term come from.
I mean, other than just breaking your back and your neck out in the sun. No.
No, that's not where it came from. No.
Educate me, brother.
So following the feud, we had the coal mine wars, which created our labor laws we're using today.
Right.
Okay. The coal companies basically created a new version of monetized slavery. It was crazy. They had their own, like, they were paying you with monopoly money.
Right.
And charging you for everything.
This is where the Molly Maguires up in Pennsylvania come from. The same concept.
Isn't that the stuff that's like, it's only good in the company store type of thing?
Yeah.
Like the coal
it was their money. It was only good in their store.
Right.
And you had to pay them rent. They took tithes for the preacher out of your check. All your uniforms, your tools you used, everything. So you basically sold your soul to the company store.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they call it. And we had the coal mine wars. And so, during this time, these coal miners who were all these people who were basically enslaved by these millionaires and billionaires, now they'd be billionaires, were connected, were politically connected. And so the government was behind them and the railroads, right? And this is probably a whole other podcast we could do. But anyways, the uh, the coal miners, to know it was safe to approach and talk to someone about unionizing, to unionize against the government and
Right.
these millionaires, to abolish these coal camps and this monopoly money and go toward the U.S. money and all this, and and not working 20 hours a day and
Yeah,
having
yeah, yeah, yeah.
8 hours at home, 8 hours with your family, and 8 hours working. Like our labor laws today stem from this.
Yep.
Sure.
So the unionizers would wear red bandanas around their necks. And
Oh.
they would march. They started in Pennsylvania, marching down through West Virginia and Kentucky, recruiting people for the Union. And the way that you knew it was safe to talk to them is they'd have a red bandana
Mhm.
around their neck somewhere,
Isn't it
partially hidden.
crazy, Jack? Isn't it crazy how being a redneck used to stand for something? Like we're
Yes.
fighting for our men and our people and our brethren
Yeah.
and for rights and justice. And now being a redneck just means like my truck is loud as shit. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's about it.
That's not what it means. I mean,
No,
it was a
no.
sign of, unionizing, pro support for the people, not, and it's crazy how this stuff turns around into a derogatory use, but yeah, it was how they identified each other.
This whole period of time, like the coal mining thing, like that, it just something recently happened. Driving with the kids in the car, they had never heard the song "Coal Miner's Daughter" for some reason.
Oh God, yeah.
And I was just like, well, fine. And I just played it for them, and they're just like, this sounds depressing. And I was like, it does, but that's what our
Was that Loretta Lynn?
It was Loretta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sissy Spacek did a fine version of it as well, but it's the real Loretta Lynn version.
I'll tell you what, Jack, West Virginia
But
history
it's-
could be its own podcast because between
Oh,
the
yeah.
Hatfield and McCoy story, between, Pennsylvania thinks it owns all of coal mining history. But
Oh no, they call us the coal fields.
Yeah,
Right.
It's
right.
literally what we're called is the coal fields.
you guys got the Battle of Blair Mountain, and then you guys have one of my favorite, you might not know this, you may know this, but so my boss, one of my best friends in life, is a native son of West Virginia, but he's a panhandler, so he's from Berkeley Springs. So he's from way out in the east for you, right?
Yeah, we consider them like DC, that ain't West Virginia.
I know, but I'll tell you what, he is real proud of being a son of West Virginia. I mean, he loves being a mountaineer. So I like to tease him about West Virginia stuff from time to time. And as I was looking at West Virginia history to basically make fun of my friend for, I came across this awesome story that there is a town in West Virginia. I believe it is known as Vulcan, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Do you know about this place?
I don't think so.
But here's why this is a great story for me, because it just shows that this entrepreneurial, we need to get things done, West Virginia marches to the beat of its own drum type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They'd been appealing to the federal government. West Virginia, the town, I'm sorry, had been appealing to the state to get a certain bridge repaired. And this bridge wasn't being funded by the state. So the town goes to the federal government. And the federal government, I think this time is, I want to say this is like Jimmy Carter or Reagan. It's like right in that moment of time.
Okay.
But basically the federal government doesn't help them. So the town appeals to the Kremlin and Russia's like, oh yeah, we'll fix your bridge. And as soon as the federal government hears that this has been agreed to, they're like, we'll fix the bridge now. We're not taking, but it's just like this town of West Virginia was like, we need this bridge fixed so bad. Well, we'll let the Russians fix it if you won't fix it. And the U.S. government was like, oh, no, we can't have that happen. So West Virginia's just got deep thinkers everywhere out there.
Yes. You have no idea the ingenuity, man.
You should look into that story. That story is short, but it is hilarious. Basically, they're like, we need this bridge fixed, and we'll bluff. We'll get the Russians to fix it so that the U.S. actually fixes it.
You gave me a hunch on something that I might have to trace down. There's another book I'm working on republishing, and the author is John Spivak, And he was known to be affiliated with the Kremlin,
Oh,
and the federal government accused him of being a spy, like all this craziness. And he was a very big author at the time, and he came down because of the coal mine wars to learn about that and write a book about it, and then found out about the feud and ended up writing the second book ever published about the feud.
all right.
And you can't find it at all right now, so I'll have that out in about another 2 weeks.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
he goes from the feud into the coal mine wars. So he talks about how the Civil War set the stage for the feud set the stage for the coal mine wars. And with his connections, I'm wondering if that's how that came about.
Happy hunting, friend.
I know, right? So now you're going to have me going down a rabbit hole.
Happy hunting.
But,
So, all right, well, let's jump back
so-
into our rabbit hole. So, Frank Phillips had launched this raid. It has finally culminated in this ultimate gun battle that the families are finally having it out, kind of in mass, right? This isn't like two guys shooting. This is like 10, 20, 30 guys aside, kind of shooting out at each other, right?
Yep.
Big gun battle, and they've grabbed would you say, if we had to, like, a battle, like tactically, would you say the McCoys won the field and as also made the away with hostages and or prisoners?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's what I would say. Because, they were organized. They had time and they were organized. The Hatfields were reacting.
Okay.
Right. So the Hatfields were just trying to react and head them off and, and do what they could, to keep the community safe. Right. So they took off with a few prisoners, two of which were Mahon brothers. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, which helped solidify extradition in this country between states. The court case is Mahon v. Justice. And the brothers were held and imprisoned, I think for about 13, 14 years or something. I can't remember, maybe 16. And the next governor came in, pardoned them. However, Devil Ance's brother, Wall, he died in prison of natural causes about a year later. But after the Supreme Court created and ruled in favor of Kentucky and I guess it'd be the United States at this point. They hung Cotton Top for his confession.
So for killing Alifair.
Yeah, for killing Alifair. He's the only one that they ever had a confession from, and probably the only one that really didn't kill anybody and probably didn't deserve to be hung. But they hung him after the Supreme Court ruled.
So the miniseries kind of makes that seem like this is a sacrificial lamb. Like they're gonna let justice play out on Cotton Top just because they want this to end. Like the Hatfields are like they're willing to let Cotton Top go if it puts an end to all of this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that would you say that the family today looks at it that way?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there's different people coming here with different stories and feelings and things, but yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Does the legacy of the feud, before we get towards the rundown of things, does the legacy of the feud, like, because obviously you meet extended family that you don't even know, I imagine, with this such and such Hatfield that you just
every day I made a new cousin.
So in relation to that, obviously you get a front row seat to the story means different things to different people within the family.
Yes.
So what's it like for you to navigate the family that follows the sensational versus the family that wants to follow the record?
It can be difficult. We have a historian on our board, our nonprofit board, and he is a matter of fact kind of guy. I try to keep him at bay from the property. He's made some little old women cry, which I don't care to see.
Yeah.
But it is hard. You get a lot of people come in and they're confused even about their lineage, and it's such a big story, covered such a big time frame, so many people involved. I finally, at one point, I had to kind of let go and just let people believe what they want to believe.
The story's
You know,
bigger than your name, right?
yeah, it is. I mean, my goal is to make sure everybody walks off of this property knowing it wasn't over a pig.
It's a simple but an important goal because the genesis of most people's awareness of this is the pig story.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
So when Cotton Top is, he's hanged, I believe, right?
Yes.
So when Cotton Top is hanged for the crime of killing Alifair, what is it over? Like, does this dwindle away quietly? Did it go out like a lion in that moment? Like, what year?
Well,
By the way, what year does that happen? When Cotton Top is executed?
1890.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens with the rest of the feud? Is it done?
Pretty much. As far as physical altercations, murders, all that's done. Animosity, no. There's still animosity today. Um,
Really?
and
I was going to ask about that.
was,
I want to get to that in a few minutes. So let's hang on to that because I do
yeah.
want to ask about that. But
That was the last event we say that happened in the feud. It's kind of where we mark the end of it historically. Again, they knew. I mean, the Supreme Court got involved at this point, right? Cotton Top confessed. Anything that the Hatfields did to try to save him or anything is just going to be seen as major retaliation at this point. Federal government's involved at this point, right? So, I mean, you kind of had to almost sacrifice him, or you're going up against the federal government at this point,
and
right?
the McCoys at this moment seem to be on board with this wave. We're going to ride this wave. There's been a lot of blood. There's been a lot of stress. The federal government being involved, like even with the federal government behind you, the wind in your sails. It's not going to be as easy as you think it is. You think people are equally, both families are just kind of wearing out on this at this point.
Oh God, yeah. At this point, I don't know that either family was willing for anything to continue on. Again, you had Perry Klein, the attorney, over there trying to get notoriety and his political stance with the governor and get retaliation from the land dispute with Devil Anse. Again, I see Perry Klein, Frank Phelps, and Jim Vance as pot stirrers in this whole situation.
So, going back to like legends and stuff, I want to read a quote. Can I read a quote?
Yeah.
From
we love quotes.
This is a quote from Wikipedia. So I had heard.
Oh, wait.
I had heard the pig story, right? I'd heard the pig legend. And I knew that was not everything. So this is what it says on under Wikipedia here. It says genetic disease, and it says the feud may have been caused in part by von Hippel-Landau disease, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, a genetic disease in the McCoy family, which causes a predisposition to anger.
That's got a whole bunch of citations on it that I really want to get into.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that now because that's not exciting television, right? But I want to. What I've never heard this before. Like I just.
So you did bring that up earlier when you were talking
Yeah.
about it, and I thought it just was they're Irish. I thought that was an Irish joke.
They are.
Right. Well, I just thought that was an Irish joke, because
Yeah,
they're
and
drinkers.
we're English. Yeah.
So
I had that. Yeah.
So that's a reality. Like that's something that could definitely be part of the story.
Yeah. It very well could be. I mean, I hate saying this. I'm not trying to make the McCoys look bad in any way.
No. Of course, yeah.
But Charles Manson stems from their line.
Oh,
hey, you can't say I'm not trying to make them look bad and then drop a bomb
Go
like
right to
that.
Manson.
Just saying, man. I'm just saying.
Jeez.
I think that might be where this whole piece came from, where they even started doing that research.
All right.
That's my thoughts on it. I mean, who knows what sparked somebody.
Not a joke, Jack. So not a joke at all. There is a familial connection between Charlie Manson and the McCoys.
Yes.
Holy smokes. Dude, I can't wait to
Charles
dive down
McCoy.
that. As soon as we're done recording, I'm going into that rabbit hole. I just want to see how far down it is.
Look, there's a lot to this, and I get things confused, but I'm pretty sure.
You know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna go see how far into the rabbit hole that one comes up. That's crazy.
Yeah,
So-
I don't think it's that far, actually.
All right, that's exciting. All right, so digging out of our own rabbit hole with the feud seemingly winding down, with about 10 years to go in the century here. This isn't really the end of their story as far as their lives. I know that both of these patriarchs, Randall and Devil Lance, do live into the early 20th century by a fair bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is the rest of their lives like after the quote, the meat of the feud? Is it like, so let me ask this actually. Is the feud over, or is there like little residual things that are not super related but still happening in the subsequent years after Cotton Top?
So there's also theories that the feud necessarily didn't happen, that Devil Anse was cleaning up after his children constantly.
Okay.
And I mean, it would be on brand with after the feud. He had two sons, Troy and Elias, who were killed for moonshining rights with Octavio Jerome. I think he was an Italian, so I think that may or may not have been a mafia. I don't know.
Okay.
In Here in West Virginia, in Fayette County, he had Willis, his next to youngest son, who shot and killed a pharmacist for not prescribing him alcohol on a Sunday. He Cap was constantly in gunfights and getting shot locally and everything else. I mean, Johnsy with his bootlegging and I think Johnsy had like 4 or 6 marriages. I can't remember. It was a lot. It was a lot. um, so he was present at most of that and kind of controlled the situations. And he, which say we'll just say some of them got away with murder or almost completely with murder. I mean, you kill a pharmacist and you serve like 3 4 years. I mean, how did that happen?
Well, I would say that being objective, that Devil Lance gets away with murder in the sense that let me ask this question: when Randall McCoy's three sons are shot in the aftermath of Ellison being killed on election day, I guess mortally wounded on election day, I should say. He
Yeah.
lingered for several days. Um, is Devil Lance on that firing squad, or is he just order the
No,
firing
he is on
squad?
the firing squad.
Okay, so
He is.
you could argue that even though that is a trail justice of sorts that I'd say I don't know that I personally disagree with, but that's technically a murder in response to a murder.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
so a lot
Yep.
of people in both sides of the family dispute are
Uh-huh.
going to be getting away for this. Not only lucky to have their own lives, but lucky to not have legal
Mhm.
problems as a result of it.
Yep. Yep. You're right. And there was a lot of trouble that went on even after the feud, that he would be instrumental in controlling, I guess we'll say. And he was protected up until the day he died. I mean, we have, like I said, he built a moat around his property with a drawbridge, and
Did he
there's
live in I don't want to say lived in fear, but did he live with the
it,
concern that even till his
yes,
last day that there could still be something?
yes, yes, for
Okay.
sure, for sure. I mean, you don't go around for 30 years with a bounty on your head and everybody shooting after you and forget about that. You know what I mean?
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Does he maintain a successful logging career even in the
Yes.
aftermath of all this?
Yes. He was very wealthy when he passed. A lot of the wealth passed down to his youngest son, Tennis, who has a whole history in himself. I'm telling you, we could go for days, just me and you, on just my
All right.
family. But he ended up burning down the house for insurance money because he got into a lot of problems with the feds and gambling, and him and the local sheriff was in on a gambling saloon together called the Blue Goose, and he rolled on the sheriff for tax evasion and stuff. So there was shootouts with that. There was a lot even after the feud that happened with the family, way beyond just the McCoys and the feud.
How does this work? I mean, the McCoys and the Hatfields still live regionally, in the
Mhm.
immediate, I mean, even today, but in the immediate aftermath of the Cotton Top execution, like how does life just go back to quote normal?
What also was horrible? Wall Hatfield, who died in prison, and Cotton Top being hung, both were put. What Wall was put into a mass grave. So he doesn't even have a respected burial site. Cotton Top, they buried him anonymously somewhere. We think he's on the campus of University of Pikeville over there somewhere, but he was buried in an unmarked grave as well. So those two main characters uh, don't even still have a headstone or a respectable place to visit for their memory. You know, which there was like I said, both families were not proud of it. Today, there's still some animosity and things. A lot of it today runs around, what's the accurate story and what's the accurate version and who's right and who's wrong, and about who is representing the family in the right way, in the right light, versus people who will sell their name and their soul for a buck, right?
Right.
So, that's kind of a lot of the animosity today.
'Cause didn't
Um,
you all officially sign a peace treaty? Isn't there like an official paper bond now that says
Yeah, in 2003, Rio Hatfield and Ron McCoy, who are part of our foundation and our board, well, Ron retired recently, but they organized a peace treaty signing in 2003. And that was the only, that I know of, the only written form of peace, that we have. But they came together after 9/11. Rio had donated a lot of supplies during 9/11, and Ron McCoy wanted to organize a reunion, a Hatfield McCoy reunion in Pike County, and they decided to do what's called the Real McCoy Award, and they picked Rio to do the award to. So they presented Rio with the award for his uh, assistance that he gave during 9/11 to all the victims. And Rio, from my understanding, this story comes directly from both of them. They told me that Rio decided we should take this further and showcase, because at that point America is shook and torn and divided. We had all this craziness going on politically, the war. So Rio's like, if the Hatfields and McCoys can get along, then anybody can. So we need to showcase this to America. So Rio decided to write the truce, and him, Ron, and Ron's brother, Bo McCoy, signed it live on, I think it was Good Morning America. And there was, I can't remember the numbers of the ratings, but it was pretty big. It was even on the New York Times and Time Magazine. I mean, it was a pretty big deal. Um, and today that's still our message that we teach when we go out. I do a lot of school presentations, things like that. To where I try to represent the family and educate the kids on the history and things. And this is still the message that we preach today everywhere we go is unity. So if we can get along, there's no reason why you can't, right?
how would you say that people, when you meet them, you kind of get the impression they want you to beef with the McCoys still?
I've even yeah. There's a
Do you guys beef like low key? Do you guys still beef? Like not like
little bit.
not like we're gonna open warfare beef, but like board
Yeah,
meeting, like
yeah,
we're beefing. McDonald's
yeah.
parking lot, we're beefing.
Yeah, that's like where like kind of like I was talking about earlier, it's about who's representing the family well
Right.
and who isn't,
Okay.
and then they'll spin a lie about you. I've got a whole YouTube channel somebody's dedicated to hating me, buddy. So there's and that's a McCoy.
Hey man, we're
Um,
used to the hey, we run a public history show, so like we get it, right? People feel
yeah,
things about things.
I mean, God, to almost dedicate an entire channel against hating someone, that's bad. I mean,
I
That's
mean,
pretty bad.
that is madness, and
that is bad.
that person needs to seek some form of professional peace finding.
So I have an opposite question. Whoop. I have an opposite question. Do you have any friends that are McCoys? Like good friends?
He's like, hell
Is
no,
that
we beef. I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm just
when I got here, so you got to remember again the coal fields. It's boom towns. It's extremely poverty stricken.
Sure.
We are literally ground zero for the opioid epidemic.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of facets that I've had to deal with today doing this and rehabbing the property and opening this up. And I had to come in swinging. I mean, I don't know that anybody else could have tackled this and got it off the ground because of my education and my resume. I mean, I was an executive for Blue Cross and Blue Shield and many others, and so I was used to dealing with very big people.
Yeah.
And I was director of sales and operations, and I was answering to these big people. So I learned very quickly how to handle political situations and fraud. So unfortunately, I had to come in swinging because of a lot of fraud that was taken from the family cemetery. There were $1.3 million worth of grants afforded to the cemetery, and it's literally rolling off the hill right now.
Wow.
And then I've had to fight neighbors over wanting to be involved, and we find out how corrupt they are, and we're like, thanks, but no thanks. And then they go and open another nonprofit very similar to your name and they're the neighbor with almost your address. And then they're causing lots of problems in the community, and then everybody thinks it's me, and it's been a freaking ride, man.
Doesn't anybody know your last name is Hatfield? Like, this whole story revolves around F around, find out.
Well, I know. You should just like roll up to your neighbors.
That's
and
what
be
I'm
like,
saying.
My last
Can
name
I
is
just say
Hatfield.
no comment on that one?
Yes, you can. You can say no comment, friend. No,
My dad kept telling me, he's like, you need to come over here. Like, they live a county over. He's like, you need to come home over here. He's like, you're gonna get burned out. They're gonna burn you out. They're gonna burn you out. And I'm like,
you
"No,
are going to
stop,
restart
come
the feud, but it might not even be
Yeah.
a McCoy thing. You're going to just
Yeah.
create
on."
war.
Yeah,
Logan County.
I was ambushed in the county commission building with anybody who's anybody in Logan County.
Yeah.
And we'll just say I tore them apart.
Hey, man, I'm here for
I made a lot of enemies right up front. So no, I don't have a lot of friends around here.
Hey, man, dude, if you're just doing the good work, you don't need friends.
That's right.
That's the
Right.
Yeah,
And that's where I'm at. I mean, shoot, man,
Yeah.
I got my own personal neighbor trolling me. I've got a huge YouTube troll. Like, shoot, I'm doing something right. Damn.
Right.
I mean,
That is a good sign. I mean,
gosh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, you're making an impact, right?
Yeah,
making an impact.
actually, here, this is cool. I just framed
Yeah,
it.
so let's finish our cat chat today about the just what.
That's,
Oh, yeah.
I can't see it. I got ordered History Hero from the state of West Virginia.
Hey, history hero.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
tell us about what you guys do
Good.
down there with the organization and everything. Obviously, we're talking to you, Mr. Hatfield, but you did mention that McCoy's sat or sit on the board currently or have in the past. So obviously you work with the other family involved in this. What does the organization itself do? You guys, do you maintain a site, it sounds like? Do you do public programming? What do you guys do down there?
Yeah, so we do a lot of outreach. We get a lot of requests to do appearances and educational seminars. I've traveled the country doing them with Ron and Rio and my aunt Judy. We've represented a lot over in Pike County. Pike County Tourism does a really good job with promoting the feud. Unfortunately, that's just like all McCoy over there, so it's not like Hatfield McCoy. So that's another battle. I'm trying to get not only counties to work together, but states to work together as a greater, purpose of preserving everything. So the family, sometimes we have to kind of be a mediator and the glue between the counties and the states to try to bring all this together. It's crazy. But yeah, we do a lot of outreach. Of course, we're trying our best to restore Devil Ance's home place. We was working on the cemetery until that crazy neighbor got involved in doing all that. And then he's got such a bad reputation. We all just, yeah, peace out. So, we'll fix the cemetery when he's gone, which won't be long.
And look, man, here's the thing that I like. It's kind of a dark perception. It's a dark view of things, but at the end of the day, the folks that are laying in the ground, they're not going anywhere.
Right, right. You know, yeah,
And
agree,
I hate that thought, but I came to that with a couple
agree.
cemeteries I was trying to preserve or help preserve a few years back. And
Yeah,
I was like, I realize the urgency is entirely on my end because them folk aren't doing anything. They are
yes,
just resting.
yes, yeah, yeah.
You'll
I
get to
mean,
it and it will be great work. I'm sure.
I was maintaining it. I scrubbed Evelance for the first time in 100 years. His statue up there, and every headstone, all the military stones. I mean, we cleaned everything up. It was looking so good. And I was working. Again, I made a lot of enemies. So those enemies were trying to keep things under wraps. So I was maybe using that relationship to try to get some funding to fix the cemetery.
Hell yeah.
And they were on board. And unfortunately, this gentleman steps in and does what I told you, and he ended up getting a lease on the property from the descendant who still technically owns the rights to the cemetery.
Bastard.
And now it's deteriorating again. I mean, I was almost in tears when I went up there the other day. And of course, being next door and with the museum, everybody comes in here. Why aren't you taking care of it? You know, they don't understand that that's somebody else's property. Like, that's like me coming to your house and just like redoing your landscaping. Like, how would you feel about that? You know, like you know. But you know, so we hand out their nonprofit's information, and they can call and make their complaint to them. But you know, those are things that fall on me because you know they see me as the face of the family, and you know, I kind of take the blame for the cemetery being in the shape it is, but it's out of my control.
I feel like
Um,
in some way, one, you can't run and hide from that. Your name is Hatfield and you're working at the organization. And two, I feel like in our short time, I've gotten the impression that you're up for that challenge. Like you're all right with being that guy.
I wasn't. I am now. Yeah. You know, again, that executive role I was in.
Yeah.
I was answering to the CEO. I was answering to, you know, the insurance company vendor that we may be using, and the
Right.
VP, and you know, and then I had 2,700 staff under me. I kind of got used to being a punching bag, you know. And you know, if people are picking on me, they're leaving some poor other soul alone, you know. Um, yeah, you know, and if I'm not being picked on, I feel like I'm not doing something right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
you
yeah,
know.
man. If you're not, if
I
you're
mean, I know
not
you guys
bothered
can
by the work
understand
you're
me.
doing, if you're not bothered by the work you're doing, you're not doing something
Yeah,
right.
if I'm not, if somebody's not happy, then something's wrong, you know, because you can't make everybody happy. You just can't.
Yeah.
And I would
Uh,
say that's probably a good place to wind this down relative because I bet you within the family Hatfield, the family McCoy, I bet you that is something that you will forever deal with no matter how
yeah,
long you live working with this is there'll be people in your own family that love the way you guys tell the story, people in your own family that hate it, and same with the McCoy family.
yeah,
And it could be 6-1, half dozen in the other on any
yeah,
given day.
yeah. And
And
that's what I was saying. That's why I make that disclaimer. You know, I'm not a historian. I'm a
yeah,
proud grandson. Yeah, I'm human. Yeah, I get things wrong. Yeah, I make mistakes. But hey, you know,
Yeah.
move on.
at the end of
Um,
the day, what we're trying to do, and I think you did a great job for our listeners, is we're just trying to tell stories, like help people become excited about something enough to engage with it further. So I hope
yeah,
our listeners take our conversation today, want to know so much more about it, buy books, come down and visit you, like come
yeah.
to the site. Is Devil Lance buried on the site where you're at?
Yeah, he's buried next door at the family cemetery. Yeah, we're actually, and this is the one thing I'm excited about. Here at the property, it's a very small setup, right? You know, I mean, I only got so much space here. So we're actually getting ready to open a second location in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee,
Ah,
and
okay. Great
I'm
segue.
excited about that because I can tell the full story. So I've designed about 60 storyboards that is able to tell the full story, like you know the Civil War, what it was like living here during the Civil War, and you know all of that, and then it'll go through the timeline. Basically, is what you'll do, like walk down the tug through a timeline, and each room is an event in the timeline. So
That
it kind
sounds
of sets the
awesome.
stage, and then you'll learn about the Hog trial and the land trial, you know, and it'll just keep going.
So I'm glad you brought up Pigeon Forge because Parker and I were talking in our pre-production about an hour before we hit record here. So something you need to know about Parker. Parker is the type of guy that I'm envious of. Parker will just decide randomly on a Friday night, I'm going to drive from where we live in Maryland to Tennessee. to the Outer Banks. I'm just going to take the family.
Yeah.
We're going to go on an adventure, which let me tell you, that is an awesome experience. Having done some of those as a kid in my life, dad of the
Yeah.
year right here. But he's been down to Pigeon Forge a ton on these random excursions. And
Yeah.
he's come back with two things. One, one of the best Titanic experiences
Yeah. It's
you'll ever
place.
get is in Tennessee. But he
Yeah.
came back with, he goes, if it's appropriate, I'm going to ask him how he feels about the dinner show. So you brought up Pigeon Forge, and now here's our moment.
So for the record, I've not gone. And being
You
somewhat
did or did not?
Huh?
Did
I have
not.
I have
Did
not
not.
gone.
Okay.
I've gone to another one, but I have not gone to that one. But I kind of wanted to get your ever since we started communicating about setting up the show, in the back of my head, I was like, I wonder how he feels about
The dinner show.
when you're driving down. You know, for those of you who have never been to Pigeon Forge, what happens is you're driving down the street and there's all these billboards everywhere because it's just giant. Pigeon Forge is a great town, but it's a giant hoop, right?
I call
And
it the
there's all
Hillbilly
these-
Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. And there's all these billboards, and there's like this granny holding a bomb on these things, and it's like the Hatfield McCoy dinner show, and there's like this. It's right next to the Titanic Museum, and isn't it like an upside down house or something? No, I'm thinking.
Wonderworks is on the other side.
That's on the other side of it, and then there's the gorilla, the King Kong guy climbing up
across the street.
It's like right in with the Titanic Museum, and I'm like, how do you feel with your? And I know what you said earlier. You know, you were like, you know, our family initially was, you know, embarrassed by this stuff, but how do you feel like as a member of that family? Just when you see stuff like that,
tell us about the dinner show, Jack.
Are you amused by it? Have you been?
Yeah. So this is actually my second podcast interview today.
Hey, you're a pro.
Yeah, and it came up on the last one, the same exact question. So
I apologize. I that's an original question for me, not for you. So I apologize.
Yeah. That
inquiring minds want to know.
A lot of people think we get royalties and stuff for our name. No, you can't copyright history. So
your family's public domain. Yeah,
and we can't control who's using the name. Right. I mean, I literally got into arguments with the Library of Congress on both my books, and the third one is about to come out about, you know, the photos and stuff. You know, they're like, you don't own the photos. And I'm like, no, you don't own the photos. It's literally my grandfather, you know. And, you know, so we don't own the rights to the name. We can't control who uses it and what they use it for. We can sway public opinion in situations like this. But the dinner show originally was owned by a company called Fee Hedrick Entertainment.
Okay.
And Fee Hedrick Entertainment was a family-owned and ran operation, and they owned a few of the large things. They did very well there in Pigeon Forge. That was their biggest one. They owned the Comedy Barn and a few other big ones down there. So they reached out to me, asking me if I would come and do a photo shoot and with Ron McCoy, and if I would come and do book signings and autograph signings and sell my book and things. So I agreed, not even knowing what I was walking into. I'd never been to the show. I didn't know what was going on. And this is, I guess, 2016.
Okay.
And yeah, it was an interesting show. But the chicken made me forget all about it.
But like forget good or forget bad? Like
the
good
chicken's
chicken?
amazing.
Okay.
It's the best chicken you eat in your life.
Is it the same chicken they serve at the Dolly Parton Stampede?
It's far better, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Dolly.
Okay.
The food.
Yeah, be careful how you talk about Saint Dolly. All right.
Yeah. I love me some Dolly. I love me some Dolly.
Put your respect on Dolly. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I love me some Dolly. She's gonna have to meet me when I get down there. We actually have a mutual friend, to be honest. So I was gonna pull that string.
Hey, not to be disrespectful, but now's your time, brother.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, when I get down there and set up, I'll pull that string. So, but until then, yeah.
So is the dinner party above the Christian Slater movie?
No, the dinner show is not even remotely historically accurate. It has nothing to do with the history. It's
Does it have a big
literally
singing number with devil ants and a
yeah.
bunch of like
They don't even
dancers?
have. They don't even use the family names in it. No.
Oh,
No.
really?
No, it's literally a comedic show about two families fighting over like a barn situation, and then they change it, of course, for Christmas to a Christmas theme. And I mean it's a good time, but it is not a time to learn about history.
Sure.
They're selling chicken with their name on it, and I'll just put it that way. Um,
Selling chicken with your name on
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, it's not a bad show, but it's not history by no
Sure.
means.
It's
It
a
is,
show.
But
it's a show.
but it's not like
yeah, yeah.
offensive
A
or
lot of
anything,
people
right?
thought
It's
I
like,
owned it. I don't know
really?
why. Because of my appearances there and stuff. Like so, I was getting flack from family, like
Sure.
distant family, like email me, ambushing me. They can't believe you support that and you created that, blah blah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I wouldn't sign a book, dude. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. It's. I mean, it's a cool little show. It's a great thing to do. It's probably the
Yeah.
best food in Pigeon Forge, in my opinion.
Okay.
You open the door. We were probably not going to ask that, but as soon as you mentioned Pigeon Forge, I could feel him start vibrating.
Yeah, I was just like,
Well,
Like all this energy came over, and I was like, okay, here we go.
yeah. Well, I'm hoping when I get there, I can set the record straight. So, I mean, literally, all this I have blurred out behind me is all packed up to go to Pigeon Forge.
oh,
Hey,
that's-
hey.
I do love
So
Pigeon
the
Forge, so I'm very happy.
the problem is we've had a hard time finding a viable retail space to make it successful in that area. You can find a lot of stuff that's not really good, for a setup. But anyways, I'm hoping when I get down there that we can just partner together and I can teach the real story and they can just continue selling their chicken. But we'll see. Dolly Parton's group bought it out
Mhm.
actually from Fee Hedrick Entertainment. When Dolly Parton's group bought it out a few years ago, and I have no idea why, um, they don't return my calls, but they took everything historic out of the building, sent my books back to me that they had on the shelf, and they took anything and everything historic or history appropriate completely out of the building. So, like I gave them a lot of stuff that was on the wall, like photos and big photos that I framed, all kinds of stuff. Because the family who ran it was great before. And we also loaned Devil Ance's gun, and also we have some historically uh, beautiful guns that are engraved with the story on it, things like that. And we did do a few events there for them, some appearances. We've made them a lot of money promoting them. But when WCI, which I think it's what they're called, WCI, I'm not sure, but it's Dolly Parton's group. When they come in and bought them out, they just like ripped anything and everything to do with the family out, and I felt really used.
Sure.
I felt like the Fee Hedrick Entertainment used us to bring validity to the theater and showcase that the family would not go after them or anything for the show. I don't know. It was a big deal. They got lots and lots and lots and lots of millions, more than I could ever spend in my lifetime out of it. But it's good food.
Good chicken.
On the laugh, it's a
Chicken
good
was
show,
good.
but don't go there expecting to learn anything about the history because
Sure.
they don't even use family names, much less
Yeah.
the story.
I feel that.
That is. I'm so glad that you brought that up because I was itching. If we didn't bring it up in the show, I was going to ask you like
As soon as we were done,
post-production,
like we
I was
would
like,
hit
just
record, and
before-
he.
yeah, just before you go, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
yeah.
Jack, before we go, let's make sure our listeners know how to get in touch with you guys down there. Do you guys do social media? Is there a website? Is there email
Yeah.
address? How can our listeners continue to engage with the work you're doing?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, which is hatfieldmccoyfoundation.org, and contact us anyway on there. Of course, you can send an email through there, phone number, address, everything's on there.
For the
You
record,
know?
everyone, that method works. That's how we did it on this show.
Yeah.
And that's literally how we booked you, Jack. I mean, we just went right to your website.
Hey, you want to come on?
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to reschedule because of the floods.
Yeah,
That
how
was.
is that? How is everything? Are you guys all set? Is everything rebuilt and is everything?
I mean, we had luckily Dave Lance knew what he was doing. Like I told you, he was a man of the land, and there's some really cool stories that we didn't even talk about. He raised bears here on the property. He helped the coal companies and the rail companies on surveying the land and get stuff in and out. So he knew exactly where to build and to hide, right, for the hideout and the home place. So where this property is positioned is amazing. It's a fortress, I'm telling you. We're at like the base of the mountain, so we're getting the first of the runoff, which is kind of like a bowl. We're like a half bowl, and it's rushing through. So I did get some property damage that we do have to fix in the creek, and it was eaten toward the museum. So I ran out and grabbed like his gun and other things, that were irreplaceable forever, and brought them in. But luckily, we are very lucky compared to others around us. Mate One and Williamson, they have a flood wall that was built in I think the 70s. I think it was put up, and it's really cool too. Though it's really really tall, and on the wall they even have scenes from the Hatfield McCoy feud and the mine wars and different things. So it's a cool little wall to walk, but I mean, you can't walk at all. But anyway, there's these massive floodgates. I mean, they're just to even drive through them, you're like, what is this? So there's these massive floodgates, and they close these floodgates. And it was quite interesting. You should check out some of the photos. There's a photo of the flood wall at work, and it's behind the hospital. And there's literally 55 feet of water. I think it's 55 feet of water crested at the Tug Valley, the Tug River, and which is the state line. So West Virginia closes this floodgate, and all of the floodwaters sink Kentucky.
The feud continues.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the town of Williamson, for example, is in both Kentucky and West Virginia. So the West Virginia side's called Williamson, the Kentucky side's called South Williamson. And you go across the river on a bridge, which is the Tug, and that's the state line. So they closed that gate, which is also kind of where that hospital is. So they closed that gate. And on the other side, you have like full shopping centers, and there's a Walmart over there. I mean, the Walmart was completely underwater.
Oh,
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was crazy to look at some of these photos. Yeah. But and FEMA, of course, they're going through here doing their inspections, and I think that's what happened that day is FEMA showed up, and I had to pivot and reschedule with you guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, but, I'm so glad you guys are okay. And for those watching, of course, we're recording this before we actually release it. This we originally were going to record this in into February, or was it first?
The flood happened February 15th, right? So it was right around there. Yeah.
So we've had to do some rescheduling and stuff just because of the weather, and I'm just really happy that it all worked out. And I'm really most of all thankful that you're safe and the museum is safe, and it's
Jack. I think what we're gonna do is have you back sometime in the future to talk about more of what you were just kind of talking about, the after feud Hatfields, like what you guys all got involved with, all that stuff that you were just mentioning with Devil Lance. That stuff sounds super fascinating. So I think I want to chat with you again, new friend. I think that'd be really cool to continue the conversation about your family. I think your family is one of the most iconic in our nation's history. One of the most honestly interesting, period, top to bottom. Take the feud out of it, and I still think the Hatfield family is an incredibly interesting family. Just when you look at it from taking a family of humble means and turning it into a very prosperous, legacy. You guys, several generations later, are still living off of the efforts of Devil Lance, not living off of, but living on the same wave, and now you're continuing it with your own works and things like that. And I think that's honestly fantastic. So
there's these, the historic signs they put on properties.
Yeah.
So do you know those things cost like $2,500?
Yeah, they're expensive.
They're yeah.
So I got approved for, the historic site. So there's this grant program out there. It's, I won't say their name, but anyways, it's literally for legends. Okay. They told me I wasn't legendary enough.
How can you not be legendary? You have chicken.
You're literally, but it's not even that. Like, how are you not legendary enough when your names are synonymous with feud?
Like literally, you're in a
said
Waylon
that-
Jennings song.
Like I'm not even
I
I'm
mean-
not even going to kid you, because at least with the American lens, right? Forget the global lens. With the American lens, I think most people are familiar with the Romeo and Juliet. They don't even know that it's
Yeah.
the Montagues and the Capulets, but they know
Right.
that
Yeah.
feud,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they know your feud.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep,
and I
I
think
know.
That's insane.
if you have made it into a Waylon Jennings song, Lukenbach, Texas,
I know, right?
Billy and the
I know.
Boys.
Jack, you know what you need to do now. You need to restart the feud to get that extra level of legendariness. That's
Yeah,
Yeah, apparently, yeah, yeah.
That's
That's
insane.
I really
incredible.
laughed when I read that email. I was like, "Are these people kidding me? Who are these people?" You
Yeah.
know,
that is the wildest thing I think I've ever heard. That is that the Hatfield McCoys are not legendary enough.
Well, this has been a
I'm not
wild
legendary
story.
for their program. Yep.
Jack, this has been a wild story today. I've been very excited to have you on. I'm very, very happy with our time here today. Thank you so much for donating some of your time to us, for our listeners and our viewers here. Catch up with them on all their social media. Go to their website, engage with the work they're doing. Get down there and see them. It's always important to visit these local sites to keep them going. Obviously, the historical community has endured a lot this year, so make sure you get out there and support the people that are on the ground physically doing the work. All of us are exhausted. All of us are being pulled in a million directions. And believe it or not, it is refreshing to see your faces. So get down there, see Jack in person, and engage in that. Follow us on our social media. You can follow the History Things podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can get a hold of Parker and I via email by sending us an email, historythingspodcast@gmail.com. Or if you got something bad to say, you can just sit on it, right? We were talking about that, Jack.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Keep that to yourself, right? We're looking for people to help move the conversation
Positive.
forward.
Right.
Oh, man, this has been a great time. So for our guest today, Jack Hatfield, for our co-host, Parker Russell, I'm Pat McGuire. This has been the History Things podcast, saying we will catch you all later.
See you next time.